Now, our next story, we're going to go and talk a little bit about Inside Out 2. Now, you may recall last summer when Inside Out 2 was released in theaters, it was the biggest movie phenomenon of 2024. And it was the first time that it helped Disney to really go and rebound at the box office with their animated offerings. And not only was Inside Out 2 a massive success and went on to become the biggest movie of 2024, but it also managed to break a lot of box office records, and it was able to go and beat the big one to become the highest grossing animated film in history, in which it was able to go and take down Inside Out 2, not Inside Out 2, because I'm talking about Inside Out 2. It managed to take down both Frozen 2 and the 2019 Lion King remake. And at that moment, it was a moment that animation fans completely rejoice. Rather it be because, well, Inside Out 2 was a great movie, and seeing a film like that in which everybody was still hyped up for and still had a lot of fun with it, seeing it become so successful, it was a joyous occasion. Or there are people who just absolutely hate the Lion King remake and just want to see that be dethroned so that we have a new legitimate animated feature to become the highest grossing animated film of all time. And also, I remember it wasn't even 2 months ago that I actually placed that moment as the #1 animation news of 2024. And I remember talking about how the future feels uncertain if we're going to see that happen again. If ever we would go and see another movie that would go and accomplish what Inside Out 2 did, and able to go and become the highest grossing animated feature in history, let alone if we would ever see one that could ever make over $2 billion at the box office. There was a once upon a time, and it wasn't even that long ago, that it was considered virtually impossible. Oh, excuse me, folks. But as I was saying, it was considered virtually impossible to think that an animated feature could ever do that. Well, it was proven that I guess I was wrong, because this actually occurred much sooner than I could ever expect. And I think it is safe to say that no one would ever think that it would be a Chinese animated movie that it would be able to do so. And you know what? Actually, let me just go and get this back. If we are going to go and introduce this, I want to do it the proper way. And so, the new highest grossing animated feature of all time is Ne Zha 2. Yes, folks, let's go and discuss about the new highest grossing animated feature in history, which is Ne Zha 2. To which on February 18th, which was last Tuesday, as I am recording this, that it was able to go and beat out Inside Out 2 at the box office, where it managed to go and earn $1.69 billion at the box office. And just to go and give you a bit of a summary of what occurred, to go and read you from my source here on Reuters, which was one of the first to go and actually mention this, but it states that Ne Zha 2 has amassed a total box office of 12.3 billion yuan, which is $1.69 billion in American money, including pre-sales and overseas earnings, making it the 8th highest box office film globally. Over 99% of Ne Zha 2's box office income has come from mainland China, starkly in contrast to Hollywood films, which typically rely on a more global distribution strategy. So yeah, just through at least almost China alone, it was able to go and make a ridiculous amount of money at the box office. In fact, if we go and take a look at Box Office Mojo, as you can see here, the numbers don't really seem that impressive. This is pretty much the earnings that it has made in North America and a few other places around the world. So it says here that the domestic earnings of Ne Zha 2, at least in North America, it has so far made $15 million domestically, along with $13.5 million internationally. That is in a few places like in Europe, in Oceania, and several others as well, in which the worldwide total says it is $28.4 million. Now, keep in mind, this is the money that Ne Zha 2 have made without counting China. Because if we do include the amount that China has given to Ne Zha 2, then it became astronomical. And again, I just want to remind you all that it was on last Tuesday that it managed to beat out Inside Out 2's record. That was the day when it managed to go and step up from the amount that Inside Out 2 has done throughout its entire theatrical run. So if we go onto Wikipedia over here, and I just want to go and do a bit of a refresh just to be sure. Now, this is the page that goes and chronicles the highest grossing animated films in history. And as you can see here, Ne Zha 2 right now, it is right on top at number 1, beating out Inside Out 2, The Lion King 2019 remake, and Frozen 2, and all that kind of stuff. Where now, as I am recording this, it has made a total of $1.89 billion. It has made nearly $1.9 billion at the box office, in which the grand majority of it, almost all of it, is just from China alone. Now, by the way, before I go and continue, I would like to go and give you a little bit of information about Ne Zha 2, because some of you might be wondering, what is Ne Zha 2 in the first place? Like, what is that film? Well, it is actually a sequel to the first movie, Ne Zha, which was released back in 2019. And I just want to go and give you a little bit of an idea here, like just to go and check out, like this is the Wikipedia page of Ne Zha 2, and it even states here that with the first Ne Zha, or at least with the Ne Zha franchise, that this is actually based, or at least, actually, let me go and read you. Let me go and read you over here what it says. Although there are a lot of changes to the original stories, the character prototype of the universe are loosely based on Chinese mythology stories and the 16th century Chinese novel Investiture of the Gods, or Fengshen Yanyi. I think that's how you pronounce it in Chinese. But yes. And I see apparently the first one is actually free on YouTube. Oh, okay. Well, that actually does check out then. So yeah, so this, in a way, it's very similar to movies that are based on Journey to the West. You know, the movies that are based on The Monkey King or Su Wukong. With those types of films, well, Ne Zha is a little bit like that as well, where you got this where you got this mischievous character who's fighting against Chinese gods. And in this case here with Ne Zha, he wants to go and try to protect this village from the wrath of whatever enemies that he may go and face. Now, when it comes to the first Ne Zha movie, that was actually very popular. In fact, just to go back onto the list over here of the highest grossing animated features, the first Ne Zha is actually not that far off. You'll see that it's actually right over here in 31st place, where it actually made a total of $726 million at the box office. And I mean, yeah, it's no Ne Zha 2 numbers, but still, for an animated film whose main target demographic is the people in mainland China, that is still massively impressive. But seeing what Ne Zha 2 has made, like just shooting itself all the way up to number 1, that is just crazy. And I think that's really the most mind-blowing part about all this. It's the fact that the way that it is able to do so, the way that it managed to go and break so many records at the box office, it's pretty much crazy to see how it is able to do so in the way that it is not like any other Hollywood movie, or how we know movie distributions work, because this is beyond how, like, this goes way beyond what we are familiar with the way that movies would get distributed to the big screen, especially like being distributed either in theaters, be distributed worldwide, and all that kind of stuff. Because with all the other movies, they would have to go and try to think of many different tactics in order to go and actually distribute their films all around the world, only to go and get this much money. But I think the big thing here, like the big reason why Ne Zha 2 was able to get to number one, is the way that it's able to go and attract Chinese audiences. And this honestly is a massive clue, especially for Hollywood in general, because for the longest time they wanted to go and try to find a way to appease Chinese audiences. Like, yes, North American audiences and other audiences, especially from first world countries like in the UK and Europe and Australia and all that kind of stuff. Like, they want it. Like, the thing is with movies in general, the big challenge is often to find a way to try to make movies that are attractive to people from all around the world, regardless of what culture that they were raised in or which country they're from and all that kind of stuff, to find a way to make their films globally appealing. That is a bit of a challenge. And when it comes to China, however, Hollywood knows that there is a gold mine, and from time and time again, they would try to make movies that would be massively appealing to China. In fact, China is actually a major reason as to why certain franchises would just keep on going. Franchises like Transformers or the Fast and the Furious, or even the Despicable Me films, China is actually a significant factor as to why they would keep on making movies again and again and again, because a big part of their box office earnings actually does come from that country. And this is not even to mention the times when there are certain movies that would be full on pandering to China, that studios really want to have a piece of that Chinese money, and that they would go and collaborate with Chinese studios in order to make Chinese-themed animated features. And we have seen plenty of examples. DreamWorks has made a few, especially with Abominable or with the Kung Fu Panda films, technically. I don't know if it initially started off as a movie that they want to make for China specifically, but I know that the country loves Kung Fu Panda. And even the third film, actually had a Chinese studio to go and help them out to go and make the film, and as well with Abominable. But then there are other examples as well, like Sony Animation tried to do that once with Wish Dragon, and there was also Netflix that actually has a few examples, such as Over the Moon or The Monkey King, and this is just animated examples. This doesn't even count some of the others as well. But my point is, Ne Zha 2 was able to go and actually find a way to be appealing to Chinese audiences, and suddenly get this gold mine to go and quickly rush in, where just in China alone, they were able to give them the amount of money needed to go and surpass what Inside Out 2 has done. And I'm sure, like, honestly, that's the one major thing that I really am curious about. I'm wondering if Hollywood is keeping an eye on what Ne Zha 2 is doing, and that they want to try to figure out how they could go and make that amount of money, like, in order to get Chinese audiences to go and watch their movies as well. Because I'll even say that with Inside Out 2, like, I actually double checked, and in China, they don't really seem to care all that much about that movie in particular. In fact, if I remember, I saw that the box office number that Inside Out 2 has made in China is literally just $42 million. That's it. But with Ne Zha 2, on the other hand, well, people have no issue to go and flock into theaters to go and check that out. And chances are, maybe to go and check that out time and time again. Because maybe in China, there are those like Ne Zha super fans that want to like repeat their viewings to go and check that out. And on a side note, by the way, I just want to go and mention that I'll probably should have mentioned this right at the beginning, but I personally have not seen anything from Ne Zha as of yet. I haven't seen the first Ne Zha movie, and I haven't seen Ne Zha 2. But I will say that with what's been going on, I'm not going to lie, it does have me interested. It does have me curious to know what's going on with those movies. And believe it or not, I've actually heard a lot of pretty positive things actually said about the Ne Zha films. Even Ne Zha 2, like some people even people who are not from China, like when they would go and watch that film, they're actually very much impressed by it. But the big question remains, however, now that Ne Zha 2 did manage to go and surpass Inside Out 2 as the highest grossing animated feature of all time, will it be able to be the first animated feature in history to make over $2 billion at the box office? And my answer to that is, oh, absolutely. It is going to happen no matter what. And a big reason as to why is because Ne Zha 2 was released on January 29th. It has not, as I am recording this, it has not even been a month since Ne Zha 2 was out in theaters. Like, to put that in perspective, it was released around the same time as DreamWorks' Dogman. And yet, you look at what Ne Zha 2 is doing right now. It is doing phenomenally for itself. And it is still going crazy strong. In fact, another proof is that if you do look at the box office right over here, like, it hasn't even been a week since I am recording, as I'm recording this, that it was able to go and beat out Inside Out 2's record. And since then, it actually managed to go and add, it managed to add nearly $200 million to its box office total. Like, it is able to go, like, beat it out and then suddenly get so much more. Which is why I personally believe that we're going to see, like, maybe in the next couple of months, that this movie is still going to be very strong at the box office. And that I think, like, in the next few days even, or maybe, like, by next week, at the most by next week, it will make over $2 billion at the box office. It will be the first ever animated feature in history to do so. But with that said, of course, it won't stop there. And some people might be wondering at this point, is it going to go and become the biggest movie of all time? Is it going to be the highest grossing film in history where it could go and beat out the first Avatar and Avengers Endgame and stuff like that? That, however, honestly, I don't know. Because now, if we would go and actually, if we would go and actually, let me go and see here. I don't know if we could just go and, like, jump onto a list of, like, the highest grossing movies ever. In fact, here, let me actually, okay, I think we actually do have a list here. So yeah, this is the list of the highest grossing films ever. So, do we actually have a list here, or, okay, no, as of 2023. Okay, so, no, highest grossing films by year. No, that's not what I want. No, can we just have, like, an actual, there we go, highest grossing films. I just want highest grossing films, period. Can we actually have that? Or at least, well, at the very least, we do know that right now, Ne Zha 2 has become the highest grossing non-English movie of all time. So we do have that. Oh, wow. It managed to beat it by, like, a lot, because the last one was apparently the Battle of Lake Changjin. And now that's the new one. So there is that. But that's not what I'm looking for, though. Do we have just, like, the highest grossing films, just that, like, I don't know. Do we have just a list of the highest? Okay, there we go. Here it is. Okay, finally. So as you can see here, oh wow, actually there is a quick update. Apparently now the number has changed to $1.9 billion. Okay, so now, okay, that is the new official list here. And okay, so chances are, yeah, I think it is safe to say, like it is definitely going to beat out like some of the other ones. Like it'll beat out No Way Home. It will beat out Infinity War. It will beat out The Force Awakens. Maybe it'll beat out Titanic and The Way of Water, but beating out Endgame and Avatar, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. That is going to be something where I'm just going to say, I feel like I am not sure. But at the most, however, I do believe that at some point, it will most likely go and actually make it to the top 5. That's honestly my prediction with what we are seeing right now with Ne Zha 2. But either way, though, I think overall, this is still worth keeping an eye out for. I think this is still worth checking out to see how far Ne Zha 2 is going to go with this, because, yeah, it's honestly wild to see this actually happening, to see this kind of history not only happening so soon, but do so in such an unconventional manner that breaks all the norms of what we know of how the Hollywood system works. We're now with Ne Zha 2, with the power of China alone, it is able to go out and beat all the records, and now it is going to remain as the highest grossing animated film ever. And I think now I can actually say it's going to be a title that it's going to hold on to for quite some time. In fact, I'll even say that, like, maybe this is just from the high because, like, it's happening as we speak, but it's going to be hard to imagine if there will ever be an animated feature that can actually surpass the achievements of what Ne Zha 2 is currently doing right now. Like, I don't know what could be able to go and actually do that. Like, I know I've said before that maybe there are some that could go and beat out Inside Out 2's records, but Ne Zha 2's records, on the other hand, yeah, that's going to be another level altogether. It's going to be something that would not only be highly beloved all around the world, but would also be highly beloved in China as well. So that's going to be a serious challenge. Maybe not impossible, but I think it is safe to say for now, we're going to wait until we're going to wait for quite some time until we see another movie that could challenge the records of Ne Zha 2. But still, though, just absolutely insane to see this unfurl. And honestly, it does have me curious to go and check out what Ne Zha 2 is all about. All right, so now with that said and done, I would like to go onto the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about Ne Zha 2's major records that it broke, along with being the new highest grossing animated feature of all time? And also, if you have seen Ne Zha 2, I would love to know your opinion on this. So let me know what you think. All right, let's see now. In order to check out Ne Zha 2, I had seen the first film, and it was not that bad. So I saw the sequel last week, and I would say it's not only better than the first, but it definitely hits hard in everything. The film has done right, like the animation, the action sequences, and the characters. My minor problem with it is the toilet humor. As a highest grossing animated film of all time, I would say so, but I do think Inside Out, Frozen, and Ne Zha are completely different, that are well earned for, and the comment unfortunately stopped right there. All right, let's see what we got here. If you're like me, then you're my clone, and you've escaped, and you can't make it out there on your own. Come on, JF number 2, come home. And also, you didn't expect this film to come in with a steel chair. To say Ne Zha 2's success is monumental would be an understatement, and it proves that Hollywood isn't the only powerhouse in animation. So yeah, if my theater ever shows it, I'm going to need to give Ne Zha 2 a watch. Go get that bag, Ne Zha. You earned it. Okay, absolutely. And the thing is that right now, and I'll say this as I am recording this, there are some places like in North America and in Europe and the UK and stuff like that. Like there are places around the world where you can go and actually check out Ne Zha 2. It's just that its theatrical release is a little bit limited, and you will have to go and actually try to find a theater that actually shows Ne Zha 2. And there might be a chance that maybe the next theater showing Ne Zha 2 could be far away from you. But if you do want to go and check out Ne Zha 2 on your own, it is possible, and there are some theaters right now that are showing it. Let's see what else we have here. What other comments to go and read? I'll be honest, I've never heard of this movie until just recently, but this is shocking news. The fact that it managed to actually beat Inside Out 2, which held the title for only 6 months, is an achievement. On top of also being close to surpassing $2 billion and become one of the highest grossing movies of all time. Also, in terms of movies coming out this year, the only one I could imagine doing it as good as this is just the third Avatar movie at the end of the year. Oh yeah, I mean, like, I think so far the only movie that is coming soon that could ever match up to the numbers of what Ne Zha 2 is making is going to be Avatar. What is it called? Fire and Ash? Yeah, that, like, it's going to be the third Avatar movie. And even at that, I feel like, honestly, I would question if it would go and make the Ne Zha 2 numbers, or at least what it will ultimately go and make. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Fire and Ash is going to be making over $2 billion at the box office. But will it be able to go and beat out what Ne Zha 2 will go and do? That, I think we're going to have to wait and see. All right, let's see. What other comments do we have here? To see a Donghua beat a Disney film, I am amazed. To be honest, I'm glad to see something outside of the US beat a Disney. I love Disney, Pixar, and DreamWorks, but they've been a little repetitive recently. It's one of the reasons why I believe that Studio Ghibli is the greatest animation studio of all time. Their films are different, beautifully animated, and feel original. Also, AniMat's, will you do a top 10 Studio Ghibli films to celebrate their 40th anniversary this year? To be honest, I'm going to be taking a break from talking about Japanese animated stuff, honestly. At least for now, mainly because, YouTube is not kind when it comes to showing Japanese animated stuff. And I mean, I'm only speaking this right now because of the fact of, well, as I mentioned at the beginning, my review of Pokemon the Movie 2000 got me a copyright strike from ShowPro. So in that regards, unfortunately, like, it is a great idea, but I don't think if I'd be down to go and do this because, well, it doesn't sound YouTube friendly, unfortunately. And again, the problem is not you, it's YouTube. All right, I'll read one more comment before I go into the next story because time is going to be running out. I'll be on it. Actually, you know what? No, I'll give this one a chance, actually. Never thought I'd live to see this day. When I heard that Ne Zha 2 got the top spot, I was really surprised, but also really happy. The first film was really good, and I highly recommend giving it a watch. Maybe someday we could see you do a review of it in the future. Cross fingers, but regardless, congrats to the team, and let's see how Disney will top this. Like maybe with Frozen 3 and 4? Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's another subject altogether to wonder, like, which Disney movie or which movie which animation studio could actually surpass Ne Zha 2's numbers. And so far, it seems that the only contenders who could possibly get close are either Disney, Pixar, and Illumination. That's it.